Hello lovely, thank you so much for joining me today. In today's video I am going to be continuing on with my series looking at my makeup collection and doing a bit of an inventory. As mentioned in previous videos, this is my at-home makeup collection only. I do have two makeup collections. I have one home and one at my caravan, like my holiday home. And this series is focusing specifically on the stuff that I have at home. Today we are going to be looking at face powders and setting sprays. I definitely have too many face powders. It's an area of my collection that I am a little bit uncomfortable with the amount that I have, but I can't quite bring myself to part with any of them. That being said, there isn't really going to be declutters in this series. It's mainly a way for me to familiarise myself with what I have in my collection and also give you a little bit of a chance to have a nosy in my makeup drawers. So without further ado, if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I would really appreciate it if you did. It doesn't cost you anything, but it means so much to me. I put out mainly makeup focused content, but I also talk about like lifestyle, mental health, chronic illness, that sort of thing. I do get ready with me's and videos like this where I sort of share with you what I have in my makeup collection. I'm working on my consumerism this year, so have been focusing a little bit more in project panning and no buys and low buys. So there hasn't been much in the way of hauls. I am very much trying to be more consistent than I have been on this channel, but it is like it ebbs and flows, unfortunately, as with most things in life. But yeah, without further ado, let's get on with today's video and let's have a little nosy at my too many face powders. Okay, so now we are on to my powders, and this is a category that I will admittedly say that I feel very overwhelmed by. Powder takes up such a long time to use up fully, and I'll never be able to get through all of these. I have tried to declutter them, and they're all great powders that I enjoy, but it is an area that I do sort of want to work on through trial and error, like using them in Shop My Stashes and moving them out of my collection that way, because these just don't fit properly in the container that I have them in. I'm sort of overflowing into the rest of the drawer and I really don't like that. So what I'm going to do is divide these up between loose and pressed and we can have a look at them. Okay, so these are my loose powders. I definitely have some top tier favourites here, and some that I'm trying to figure out sort of my feelings on, and then some that I haven't got round to using yet. Only actually one that I haven't got round to using yet. So starting with the Inglot Stage Sport Screen. This is a mattifying long wear powder. It's been a favourite of mine for many years, but I'm not sure whether it's due to the age of it or just my skin changing as I get older. I am, for reference, I'm 39 years old. I have very fair skin that leans neutral to cool. I have dry and dehydrated skin, and I also have rosacea. my skin doesn't really love super heavy mattifying powders, especially under my eyes. I can't take anything too heavy duty under my eyes. I've got this in my rolling 10 uses project at the moment, and I'm trying to reach 10 uses on it. I'm having very mixed results with this one. Sometimes I absolutely love it. Sometimes I hate how it looks. I never remember it looking yellow on my skin. It always was like translucent. But I've used it a couple of times with, I think, the wrong kind of brush, and it's clumped up and looked quite yellow in areas. But I used it yesterday, and I absolutely loved how it looked and how it wore. So it's one that sort of I'm on the fence about at the moment. A recent favourite is the Givenchy Prism Libre. I have the one that's got the 4 like colour correcting brightening tones in it. This is a truly beautiful powder. It's definitely worth the hype. Up there with my Huda Beauty as my absolute favourite loose powders. I really enjoy this. It looks beautiful under my eyes. It sets how I need it to, but it's not heavy or cakey, and it has a slight hint of like a natural radiance. It's really beautiful. Then I have 3 of the Huda Beauty Easy Bake powder. I've got the shades Sugar Cookie, which is the white one, which is perfect for under my eyes. Then I have Cupcake, which is like a peachy pink neutral, which is like ideal for all over my face. And then I have finally picked up Cherry Blossom Cake, which I got for my birthday this year. It had been sold out for so long, but this is beautiful for that pink under eye because it's a nice light milky pink rather than a rosy pink, which shows up against my fair skin a little bit too much. Then we have a really cool, literally, powder from MAC. This is the Truth and Light powder, and this one is like when you put it on your skin it feels cool. It has a beautiful amount of radiance to it. I'm not sure whether you can tell on the container. I don't think they make this anymore. They haven't had this around for a long time, but it's one that I only opened within the last couple of years, I think. You can see sort of like a pink radiance there. This is a beautiful finishing powder, and it does have that lovely like cooling effect when it goes on the skin, so I really like that one. Then we have the Too Faced Born This Way Ethereal Setting Powder. This was one I'd heard a lot of things, you know, a lot of good things about over the years and wanted to try it for myself. It's just okay. There's nothing like with the foundation. I don't really think there's anything super special about it. It's just a nice all-rounder. It doesn't look too heavy on the under eyes or too dry, but it is quite mattifying. This was, I think, the reformulated ethereal setting powder, so it does have a slight bit of a luminosity to it that stops it looking super dry or like heavy on the skin. But yeah, I like this one, but it's not one that I would say was a favourite, and it's not one that I think I would repurchase when I use it up. And then I have one that I bought back from the caravan with me. This is the MAC Loose Mineral foundation in the shade Extra Light. I don't think they do this anymore. This is, as I say, a powder foundation, and I had been wanting to try the Bare Minerals loose powder foundation again. It was one that at one time I would only use Bare Minerals products on my skin, but they've been quite difficult to get hold of here in the UK for quite a while, and I remembered I'd got this one, so I wanted to try this as like a standalone foundation. But I also really like this on top of like a liquid foundation, because it is that mineral powder. It's almost hydrating and it has that nice luminosity to it. Looks really beautiful on the skin and is perfect if you've got like a more mature skin like myself. This was a surprise favourite. This is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Powder. This is just a mini in the shade Butter. This is a really nice powder. It's so light and finely milled that it does what it needs to. It sets my makeup down, but it doesn't look heavy, and the shade Butter is absolutely perfect for like a brightening sort of overall look. I would really like to try the lavender version of this powder, because I really do like the formula of this. Then, speaking of bare minerals, I have my original mineral veil. This is in the shade Feather Light. This was one that's recently been recluttered back to me from my mum. This is a finishing powder, not a setting powder. It's gonna add a glow to the skin and will look beautiful, sort of buffed over the skin after you've put all of your other sort of base products on. So I do like to have a few finishing powders, although I never remember to use them. I'm terrible for using them, but that one's a really nice one, quite similar to the MAC Truth and Light. Then another one that was recently recluttered back to me from my mum. This is the MAC Prep and Prime Transparent Finishing Powder. This says it's a finishing powder, but I do find it works quite nicely as a setting powder for under my eyes, because it's so finely milled. It feels like absolutely nothing. It's traceless on the skin, but it mattifies and sets. It's a really nice powder. Then another finishing powder I have already gone through one of these in a different shade, and this is my last one in my collection. This is the Inglot HD Illuminizing Loose Powder. This has like a very pretty like champagne radiance to it. Super finely milled, really stunning powder. And then in a similar vein, but I haven't actually used it yet, so I can't, you know, say for certain, is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder. I've never used this. This is brand new, still sealed. But this is a radiant loose powder that I've heard is really good for older, more mature skin and drier skin. This is the old packaging. You can tell I've had this quite a while and I've never even used it, because I am like so overwhelmed by my powders. And similar to these two, but more similar to the e.l.f. Halo Glow, is the Glam Shop Glam Powder. Sorry, my camera's moved. This one was a free gift with an order that I did for some palettes, and I'm so happy with this powder. This is just a loose finishing powder. It has a little bit of radiance. It's the perfect shade for my skin. It's got that slight little bit of, I'm not sure you can tell on camera, but in person you can see it has like a light pinky peachy tone to it, very similar to Cupcake by Huda Beauty, but this is incredibly beautiful under the eyes. Really was pleasantly surprised considering it was a free gift. And then this is another powder that was recently recluttered back to me from my mom. This is the original pink powder. This is the Ben Nye Pretty Pink, but this one is very pink. It really does give like a proper pink tone to the under eye area. I had this years and years, and my mom's had it years, and then I've ended up back with it. It still works beautifully, but it might be one that I check to see if my mum wants it back again, because I've got obviously now the Huda Beauty and I've got a Revolution one. But if you know, I would recommend this powder. It's really nice. The Ben Nye loose powders are made for like stage and screen, so they lock your makeup in really well, but they give sort of like a filtered effect to the skin. They're really beautiful. And then one of my favourites is the Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder in the shade Translucent Light. This is just a mini. It's one that I've used many times. You can see I don't have a huge amount of this left. I've worked on this in projects previously, and I really love this. It's so incredibly finely milled. It has a slight bit of luminosity to it, but nothing like highlightery or over the top. It wears really beautifully. It doesn't accentuate the fine lines or attach itself to any dry patches or anything like that. It's a really nice powder, but I don't think you can get Cover FX in the UK anymore. And then finally, for loose powders, I have the Revolution Cherry Bake. This is one that I got to try before I actually picked up the Huda Beauty Cherry Blossom, I think. I can't remember which one came first, but oh, actually, I think the Huda Beauty might have come first. But this was a more recent launch for Makeup Revolution. They did like a whole like Y2K collection, and this was part of it. This smells like cherries. It's a lovely light pink powder. It's not too sort of rosy toned, even though they look pretty much the same in the packaging. It doesn't sort of look too pink under my eyes. It's very finely milled. Doesn't look dry or cakey or anything like that. For such an affordable product, this is spot on. I was really impressed with this one. Okay, and now I'll lay out my pressed powders. Okay, and these are my pressed powders. So definitely have some favourites here and some that I'm sort of working on to try and get out of my collection. Starting at, we'll do it in a funny order. Okay, so starting with the Fenty Beauty, this is the Pro Filter powder foundation. I've got mine in the shade 120. This was a recommendation from my mom. You can't really tell on camera, as I've said previously, but this one is definitely a lot more pinky toned in person than it is on camera. This one is a really nice one. I like wearing a powder foundation to sort of set my liquid foundation if I'm going out, if it's a special occasion and I want my makeup to be like super full coverage and really long wearing. The original and still my favourite is MAC Studio Fix Powder Foundation. Again, this one is a lot more pink toned in person than it looks on camera. This is the shade NW18, which with MAC products, NW means like neutral cool. So that is an old favourite. I've gone through multiple of those powders. And then we have some sort of like bog standard pressed powders. We've got the H&B Cosmetics Silky Smooth Airbrush Filter Pressed Powders. I've got 3 of these in 3 different shades. So I've got Extra Brightening, which is a white. I've got Fair, which is my skin tone. And then I've got Pink, which is obviously a pink. These are a lovely powder. They are very blurring and smoothing on the under eyes and all over the face. I like using either the Extra Brightening or the pink on my under eyes, and then I'll use Fair to set the rest of my face. You can see I've used this one quite a bit. This reminds me a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Powder, but these do have a little bit more coverage to them, whereas I find this is very much a translucent setting powder. It doesn't really have any coverage to it. Then a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury is the number 7 Airbrush Away finishing powder. Mine is very pink toned. This is translucent. I'm not sure if they do multiple shades of this, but this one looks quite pink in person. This is a beautiful setting powder for under the eye area for a more mature skin. Looks really beautiful and is very similar to the Charlotte Tilbury. Then I have my 2 Dior Powder No powders. So I've got the shade 0N, which is a brightening shade for under my eyes, and then I've got the shade 1N, which I can use all over my face. But I do have to be careful with that shade. It can look a little bit warm on me sometimes, which is why I got the 0N. But this is an absolutely stunning powder, especially if you don't like powder. I mean, the name is absolutely perfect for it. Powder No powder. It's it does set you makeup. Like if you use a powder puff with this, you can definitely set your makeup with it, but I also really like using it like a finishing powder, just sort of buffed over my skin at the sort of the end of my routine, just to add a lovely glow and a little bit of extra coverage. Then for some more glowy powders, these are my like glowy powders. So we've got the Huda Beauty Glowish. This is a beautiful powder, but unfortunately she is getting rid of this line altogether. I've got the shade 01 Fair. This is very highlighty. When you sort of swatch it, it almost has like an icy silvery sheen to it, but used correctly with the right brush, it looks really beautiful. I wouldn't use this as a setting powder. I would use this as like a finishing powder. I know when Huda first came out with this, she said you could use it like a powder foundation, but I haven't tried it like that. I really like just sort of taking a big fluffy brush and sort of fluffing this all over my face, sort of at the end of my routine like a finishing powder. It is really, really pretty, but you do have to be careful with it. I wouldn't recommend this one for oily skin. And then one that was recently recluttered to me, and I can't believe that I lasted so long without it. This is the MAC Sculpting Powder in the shade Light Sweep. I absolutely love using this sort of not right up under my eyes, but sort of tops of my cheekbones, down the centre of my face, to add a glow. It has a lovely sheen running through it, but if I try setting my concealer with this, sometimes it can look a little bit deep. You can see how much I've used this. This is currently in a project at the moment, but this is a stunning powder. You can still get this, but in their contour palettes. It's in the light to medium contour palette, but I really love this, and when I finish this I would consider buying the contour palette to have it again. And then a sort of similar sort of idea is this really cool powder from Makeup Revolution. This came out with the Y2K collection. This is the Aura powder, and I'm not sure whether you can see it. Yeah, you can. It's like rainbow marble. It reminds me very much of the Hourglass powders, and this has that sort of finish where it is very glowy on the skin, and works beautifully as a finishing powder. Pressed under the eyes with a powder puff, it can look a little bit too much, a little bit too shiny, but just buffed over the skin as like a last step, it's stunning. You could also get away with this as a very subtle highlight, same with these two as well if you wanted to. a glowy powder that I bought back from the caravan with me because I'm trying to focus on it as in a project at the moment. This is the Urban Decay Illuminizer powder. This is many years old. It used to be a firm favourite. This was my going out powder. You can see it has a lot of shimmer running through it, but you can see I've used quite a lot of this powder over the years. Comes with a sponge. My packaging is getting all battered and chipping, which is one of the reasons why I want to get it used up. This is really beautiful, but you do see the shimmer on this, so you know, if you don't like that, it's not going to be the sort of powder for you. But I think it looks really beautiful, especially on my drier skin. It just gives me that beautiful bit of life. And then another glowy one is my Giorgio Armani. This is the, I always forget what this is called, Luminous Silk Glow Fusion Powder, and mine is in the shade 2, and this is sort of a match to the Armani Luminous Silk. Again, it looks super yellow on camera, but it's very pink peach in real life. This is stunning as a finishing powder. It's almost spongy feeling, so this wouldn't be one that I would use with like a powder puff and like press it into the skin, because I think it would look a little bit too thick. But with a nice fluffy brush dusted over, as I've said with these other ones, this is absolutely stunning. It's a really pretty powder. And then I have my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Trio. Again, this was recently recluttered back to me from my mum. I had this for years and wasn't using it, but it is a focus product for me at the moment. I'm trying to hit pan in one of the shades, and I think it's going to be this one. They sort of are varying degrees of shiny. This one is a little bit too dark for me, but I can get away with using it as like a buffed over my bronzer or blush. This one I can use as a highlighter, and this is beautiful under the eyes as a like radiant under eye setting powder. It's really beautiful, and I am glad to have it back in my collection, but I don't think I would ever buy a full size of the Hourglass powders. I would love to get one of their like holiday edition face palettes, but I just think they're so expensive. And then finally I've got my 2 baked powders. So I've got my Kosas Cloud Set in the shade Airy. I know this is a lot of people's favourite powder, especially people who have dry skin and more mature skin, and I can see why. It's a really beautiful powder. Very lightweight, has a sheen to it but nothing over the top, doesn't settle into fine lines or make you look dry or cakey. It just gives you that like filtered, perfected look to the skin, and this shade Airy is absolutely perfect for me. And then one that I find very similar to the Kosas is the Pat McGrath Labs Under Eye powder. This is just the white shade. I think it's, yeah, light. She's brought out a pink one which I would really love, and I might pick up in her Black Friday sale, but this is stunning for under the eyes. I know people who use it all over the face as well, because it is such a stunning powder and such a stunning finish if you've got sort of like that drier skin type like myself, but underneath the eyes it's so incredibly blurring and smoothing and brightening. It's super pretty, but I have heard that these are incredibly delicate, that they break really easily, so I am a little bit careful with mine. And that is all of my powders. What I'm going to do now is count them up, and then I'll show you my top 5. Okay, so in total I have 34 powders. The hourglass I've just counted as one because I tend to count like components rather than pans. So for my top 5, these are in no particular order. All of my Huda Beauty Easy Bake powders, my Givenchy Prison Libre, my MAC Studio Fix powder, so that's 3. Then we've got the Dior Powder No powder, and then I would say the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless powder. But I would also like to give an honourable mention to the Kosas Cloud set because it is a really beautiful powder, but those 5 just sort of pip it to the top spot. Okay guys, sorry for the confusion. I missed 2 powders when I did my powder collection. It is the next day. This one actually fell out of my bed when I got up the next day, and I'd left this one in my handbag. So 2 MAC powders, very different, and I use them for very different purposes. So this is the MAC Studio Care Blend Press Powder. Again, another one that is a brilliant all-round powder. It's perfect for drier skin types and for aging skin types because it's so finely milled and so lightweight. It's similar vibes to the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush setting powder or finishing powder. But I don't think they actually make this anymore. I bought this one back from the Caravan because I'm trying to keep all drugstore at the Caravan and keep like my higher end stuff here, apart from the odd few bits and pieces, but I'm much more likely to get them used up here than at the Caravan. So this one is in the shade Light, and yeah, this is a great powder. I think this is the second one of these that I've gone through. Then I've got my limited edition Trolls powder. This was the only item, oh no, actually I tell a lie, I bought 2 items from the Trolls collection when it came out, and this is definitely my favourite. This is the beauty powder in the shade Play It Proper. So it is a pink radiant powder that can be used as like a very subtle highlight, or it can also be used as a glowy finishing powder. I've used it as both. The way I've got most of my use on it is using it as a finishing powder. I just take like a buffing brush and sweep this across the tops of my cheekbones, across my forehead, down my nose, on the tip of my chin, just to give those areas a glow, and then I'll forego highlighter because this has enough radiance in it. It's really beautiful. One that it took me a very long time to actually get to grips with. I wasn't really sure how to use it, but now it's definitely much loved in my collection. So 2 more powders to add to the total, but that is definitely it now. Okay, and finally out of my base drawer we have setting sprays. Don't have a huge amount of these, but I definitely have much more than I need. So I'm just going to start with a random one. This says it's the Cover FX Illuminating Setting Spray. That is in here, but there's also some other sprays as well. So I think in here I've got the Cover FX Illuminating Setting Spray. I've got the Colourpop Pretty Fresh. I think I put a facial like skincare mist in here. There's all sorts of stuff in here. The Cover FX one was a long-term favourite. I've loved this setting spray for a very long time, but it is quite shimmery. There's like a pink pigment that like a mica pigment in there that leaves sort of like a radiant glow to the skin, and if you're not careful it can sort of like spurt out little like pink shiny bits on your face. So I sort of tried to dilute it a little bit once I got nearly down to the bottom. The Pretty Fresh spray from Colourpop is probably my all-time favourite setting spray. So I had about half of one of those, which I poured into. Oh, it's Charlotte Tilbury is in here as well. My Charlotte Tilbury bottle broke, so I added that to this. So there's Cover FX, Charlotte Tilbury and Colourpop in here. I have been working on this in a project since I added the Charlotte Tilbury because it was right to the top. So I've used that much of it, but it's a very fine, I'll show you, very fine mist, which is why I kept this bottle and used this bottle rather than like the Colourpop one, because it's such a beautiful fine mist. Okay, and then back into order, we've got the Benefit Professional Super Setter. This is just a travel size. This is probably my favourite setting spray, I would say, after the Colourpop, you know, one that's a little bit more accessible here in the UK. I do find this really does make my makeup last longer, and it is quite, somehow it's quite a perfecting spray. Having dry skin that is often dehydrated, I do prefer a more radiant setting spray, but this is the setting spray that I actually used and thought, actually this is really doing something. I can see a difference when I use this. Two I have yet to use. I got the Stay All Night Microfine setting mist from ELF because I've heard so many good things about it, that it's a dupe for the similar to like the Benefit Professional and the Urban Decay all-nighter, and in this hotter, you know, more humid weather, I do want something that's going to hold my makeup on and make it last. Then we have the IRL All Day Filter Setting Spray. This is a mattifying fixing spray, which I actually didn't realise when I purchased it. I got it when I got the IRL Filter Primer, because I love the foundation, concealer and primer so much. I thought I'd love the setting spray. It's one of those where it has like powder residue in the bottom, but I'm sure it will, you know, it has its place in my collection like the ELF and the Professional. Then I have the I Heart Revolution Coconut Fixing Spray. This is just a very basic setting spray. It does have alcohol in it. It says that it's hydrating, but I can tell that there is alcohol in there. I can feel it, but it is just a nice basic setting spray. I'm working on these two at the moment because I like having like one for in between steps, and then one sort of if I need to dampen anything down, and I don't want shimmer particles. Then we have two more that I have yet to use. These are the Beauty Crop Glow Milk Mist and the Wee Cherie setting spray. Both are hydrating, and both I've heard many things about. People have raved about these for a long time, and I really wanted to pick them up, so I got them during a TikTok sale. With setting sprays, I am pretty good at just using one until it's gone and then moving on to another, which is why so many of them aren't open. This is another one, the Iconic London Prep Set and Glow spray. This I was given for my birthday off my mum and dad. It was on my wish list. Very similar vibe to the original Cover FX illuminating setting spray, but as I say, I haven't sort of given this a test run or anything yet. Another shimmery one that I absolutely love is the Fourth Rate Glisten Up Mist. This is it smells like orange juice. It has like a gold reflect to it, but it's nothing like over the top. With this one, you don't see like the shimmer particles on your skin when you spray it. It's a really nice one. This is going to be the one that I work on after I finish the Cover FX, because I've had that one a little while now. Then I've got the Revolution Super Dewy. This one I was hoping was because of how it looks, like an aerosol, like the Morphe continuous setting mist, like a continuous setting spray, rather than just like a normal pump setting spray. But this does spray out like a normal setting spray. It's not a continuous mist or anything. It is an aerosol obviously, but it's not a continuous mist. It's a nice fine mist, and it's a really nice setting spray. It's the Super Dewy, and it does definitely add like a dewy glow to the skin. Smells really nice, sort of smells like holiday, and is just a great sort of everyday setting spray, especially in the cooler months when my skin's drier. And then finally we have this one from Beauty Pie. This is the Fresh Glow breathable setting spray. Again, this one has a little bit of a like a pigment to it, so it has like a little bit of a glow. Nothing to write home about. I'm no longer a Beauty Pie member, so I wouldn't be repurchasing this one anyway. But it does a similar sort of thing to my Cover FX, the Super Dewy and the Glisten Up, so it's sort of like a nice hydrating one that adds a little bit of a glow. It's supposed to have skincare ingredients in it. I don't really notice anything particularly wonderful about it, but as I say, I'm just going to use this one up and then I wouldn't repurchase it. And that's it for my setting spray. So in total I have 11 setting sprays, and as I've explained as I've gone through, it is difficult for me to pick favourites because I've used so few of them. But I'm not going to do a top 5 because I've pretty much only tried about 5 or 6 of them. But if I was to have to, you know, hands held behind my back, out of what I've got here, I would say the Professional Super Setter is probably my current favourite setting spray. And that's it. Okay, lovely, and that is it. That is all my face powders and setting sprays. I really hope you enjoyed the video and that you may have spotted some favourites amongst what I have. What are your top 5 face powders and setting sprays? I would absolutely love to know. I am on a no buy for the month of August, so I will not be purchasing any of your recommendations, but I do love to hear what, you know, what sparks joy with people. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I know these are longer videos, but I do like to talk about the products individually and give sort of mini reviews. I think it's more helpful than just going, here's one from MAC, here's one from Cover FX, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, I do chat a lot, but it's my favourite subject. I can talk about makeup all day, every day. It's the one area of my life that is organised and is not total chaos. So thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like. I would really appreciate it. And if you want to have a chat with me in the comment section, then please do leave me a comment. I really do love getting in contact with you guys in the comment section. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, lovely.